More complex usage involves something called primitive shaders, which allow the game to synthesize geometry on the fly as it's being rendered. It's a brand new capability. Using primitive shaders on PlayStation 5 will allow for a broad variety of techniques, including smoothly varying level of detail, addition of procedural detail to close-up objects, and improvements to particle effects and other visual special effects. Another major new feature of our custom RDNA 2-based GPU is ray tracing, using the same strategy as AMD's upcoming PC GPUs. The CUs contain a new specialized unit called the intersection engine, which can calculate the intersection of rays with boxes and triangles. To use the intersection engine, first you build what is called an acceleration structure. It's data in RAM that contains all of your geometry. There's a specific set of formats you can use. They're variations on the same BVH concept. Then, in your shader program, you use a new instruction that asks the intersection engine to check a ray against the BVH. While the intersection engine is processing the requested ray triangle or ray box intersections, the shaders are free to do other work. Having said that, the ray tracing instruction is pretty memory intensive, so it's a good mix with logic-heavy code. There's of course no need to use ray tracing. PS4 graphics engines will run just fine on PlayStation 5, but it presents an opportunity for those interested. I'm thinking it'll take less than 1 million rays a second to have a big impact on audio. That should be enough for audio occlusion and some reverb calculations. With a bit more of the GPU invested in ray tracing, it should be possible to do some very nice global illumination. Having said that, adding ray-traced shadows and reflections to a traditional graphics engine could easily take hundreds of millions of rays a second, and full ray tracing could take billions. How far can we go? I'm starting to get quite bullish. I've already seen a PlayStation 5 title that's successfully using ray tracing-based reflections in complex animated scenes with only modest costs. Another set of issues for the GPU involved size and frequency. How big do we make the GPU, and what frequency do we run it at? This is a balancing act. The chip has a cost, and there's a cost for whatever we use to supply that chip with power and to cool it. In general, I like running the GPU at a higher frequency. Let me show you why. Here's 2 possible configurations for a GPU roughly of the level of the PlayStation 4 Pro. This is a thought experiment. Don't take these configurations too seriously. If you just calculate teraflops, you get the same number. But actually, the performance is noticeably different because teraflops is defined as the computational capability of the vector ALU. That's just one part of the GPU. There are a lot of other units. And those other units all run faster when the GPU frequency is higher. At 33% higher frequency, rasterization goes 33% faster. Processing the command buffer goes that much faster. The L2 and other caches have that much higher bandwidth, and so on. About the only downside to that system memory is 33% further away in terms of cycles. But the large number of benefits more than counterbalance that. As a friend of mine says, a rising tide lifts all boats. Also, it's easier to fully use 36 CUs in parallel than it is to fully use 48 CUs. When triangles are small, it's much harder to fill all those CUs with useful work. So there's a lot to be said for faster, assuming you can handle the resulting power and heat issues, which frankly, we haven't always done the best job at. Part of the reason for that is, historically, our process for setting CPU and GPU frequencies has relied on some heavy-duty guesswork with regards to how much electrical power games will consume and how much heat will be produced as a result inside of the console. Power consumption varies a lot from game to game. When I play God of War on my PS4 Pro, I know the power consumption is high just by the fan noise.
Subtítulos
But
en inglés.
power isn't simply about engine
Sí, es que no se puede poner
It's
en
about the
español.
minutia of what's being displayed.
Es lo malo.
It's counterintuitive, but
Pero
processing
bueno, al
dense
menos yo vengo
geometry
nomás para ver cómo es la
typically consumes less power
consola.
than processing simple geometry, which is, I suspect, why Horizon's map screen, with its low triangle
Bueno, a ver si
count,
puede
makes my
cambiar,
PS4 Pro heat
pero
up so
creo que
much.
no.
Our process on previous consoles has been to try to guess what the maximum power consumption during the entire console lifetime might be, which is to say, the worst-case scene in the worst-case game, and prepare a cooling solution that we think
Vamos a ver si
will be
pueden cambiar
quiet
los
at that
subtítulos.
power level.
antes de que
If we
den
get
la,
it right,
la gran noticia
fan
de
noise
cómo
is minimal.
es
If
el
we get it
PlayStation
wrong, the
5.
console will be quite loud for the higher power games, and there's even a chance that it might overheat and shut down if we misestimate power too badly. PlayStation 5 is especially challenging because the CPU supports 256-bit native instructions that consume a lot of power. These are great here and there, but presumably only minimally used. Or are they? If we plan for major 256-bit instruction usage, we need to set the CPU clock substantially lower or noticeably increase the size of the power supply and fan. So, after much discussion, we decided to go with a very different direction on PlayStation 5. We built a GPU with 36 CUs. Mind you, RDNA 2 CUs are large. Each has 62% more transistors than the CUs we were using on PlayStation 4. So if we compare transistor counts, 36 RDNA 2 CUs equates to roughly 58 PlayStation 4 CUs. It is a fairly sizable GPU. Then we went with a variable frequency strategy for PlayStation 5, which is to say we continuously run the GPU and CPU in boost mode. We supply a generous amount of electrical power and then increase the frequency of GPU and CPU until they reach the capabilities of the system's cooling solution. It's a completely different paradigm.
PlayStation 5
Rather than running at constant frequency and letting power vary based on the workload, we run at essentially constant power and let the frequency vary.
Buenas, Jairo, ¿cómo estás, bro?
We then tackled the engineering challenge of a cost-effective and high-performance cooling solution designed for that specific power level. In some ways, it becomes a simpler problem because there are no more unknowns. There's no need to guess what power consumption the worst-case game might have. As for the details of the cooling solution, we're saving them for our teardown. I think you'll be quite happy with what the engineering team came up with. So, how fast can we run the GPU and CPU with this strategy? The simplest approach would be to look at the actual temperature of the silicon die and throttle the frequency on that basis. But that won't work. It fails to create a consistent PlayStation 5 experience. It wouldn't do to run a console slower simply because it was in a hot room. So rather than look at the actual temperature of the silicon die, we look at the activities that the GPU and CPU are performing and set the frequencies on that basis, which makes everything deterministic and repeatable. While we're at it, we also use AMD's Smart Shift technology and send any unused power from the CPU to the GPU so it can squeeze out a few more pixels. The benefits of this strategy are quite large. Running a GPU
no se
at
puede
2
cambiar los
gigahertz
subtítulos.
was looking like an unreachable
Bueno, vamos a
target with
platicar
the old
mientras este güey habla
fixed frequency
del
strategy. With this new
CPU y el
paradigm,
GPU
we're able to
del
run way
PlayStation.
over that. In fact, we have to cap the GPU frequency at 2.23 gigahertz so that we can guarantee that the on-chip logic operates properly. 36 CUs at 2.23 gigahertz is 10.3 teraflops, and we expect the GPU to spend most of its time at or close to that frequency and performance. Similarly, running the CPU at 3 gigahertz was causing headaches with the old strategy. But now we can run it as high as 3.5 gigahertz. In fact, it spends most of its time at
pues ahí la vamos, dicen.
That doesn't mean
Por fin vemos el físico real del PlayStation 5. Es lo que estoy esperando yo ver cómo va a ser el PlayStation 5. Porque es especificaciones de todo lo que ha dicho este güey que está hablando aquí. Pues de eso ya hemos hablado mucho. Bueno, ya se ha hablado mucho, pues. Ya se sabe todo lo que va a tener.
The final of our 3 principles was about finding new dreams. It's important for us on the hardware team to find new ways to expand or deepen gaming, and that's what
Si veo una serie en Netflix, te sigue hablando. Sí, yo también ando acá acomodando todo mientras este güey acaba de hablar. A ver a qué horas dice, aquí está el PlayStation 5, gente, véanlo, véanlo.
Personally, I feel a game is just dead without audio. Visuals are, of course, important, but the impact of audio is huge as well. At the same time, the audio team on a game project has to do a lot with a little. For example,
no compren la PlayStation 5 porque les da coronavirus, mejor compren la PlayStation 5.
Audio typically ends up getting just a fraction of
a no sé si me voy a comprar la Play 5, gente, ahí sí está como de decir, no sé. Prefiero guardar para comprarme una
So, it's been tough
una
going
PC
making
buena.
forward progress on audio with PlayStation 4, particularly when PlayStation 3 was such a beast when it came to audio.
Estamos en una clase de ingeniería.
Almost a perfect device for audio rendering.
Y sí, me recordó como
Simple,
cuando iba a la
high-client
escuela, estuve viendo más
algorithms
habla y
could
habla.
really take advantage of asynchronous DMA and frequently reached 100% utilization of the floating point unit. There's unfortunately nothing comparable on PlayStation 4. Probably the most dramatic progress in the PlayStation 4 generation has been with virtual reality. The PSVR hardware has its own audio unit. It supports about 50
También eso estoy
pretty decent 3D
esperando,
sound sources.
Minor
And this
Martínez,
provided a hint as
a
to
ver
where
si
we could
dicen
go
que va a
with
ser
audio,
retrocompatible.
as well as some valuable
Bueno, al menos ya dijeron que con el VR sí.
Not to oversimplify, but here were our goals for audio on PlayStation 5.
Ya está, me dice
The
que
first
mejora
goal
la...
was great audio for everyone, not just VR users
Mejora
or
toda
soundbar owners or
la de esa
headphone
VR.
users. That meant audio had to be part of the console. It couldn't
Ojalá,
be a
Rodrigo, ojalá y también
The
anunciaran una
second goal
portátil,
was to
estaría
support
chido.
hundreds of sound sources. We didn't want developers to have to pick and choose what sounds would get 3D effects and which wouldn't. We wanted every sound in the game to have dimensionality. And finally, we wanted to really take on the challenges of presence and locality. Now, when we say presence, we mean the feeling
¿A qué hora la
that
presentan?
actually
Yo creo
there.
van a presentarla
You've
hasta el
entered the
último ya.
matrix. It's not, of course, something we thought we could perfectly achieve, but the idea was that if we stopped using just a rain
Ya
sound
hasta al
and
último de
instead
su
used
presentación
lots of 3D audio sources
van a
for
sacar, van a
raindrops hitting
ver.
the
Ahorita
ground
están con lo
and
de
all sorts of
VR.
locations around you, then at some point your brain would take a leap and you'd begin to have this feeling of real presence inside the virtual world of the game. This has the capacity to affect your appreciation of the game, just like music in a game does. The concept of locality is simpler. It's just your sense of where the audio is coming from. To the right of you, behind you, above
Ansu, la
you.
neta sí
This can
estaría
immerse you
perro,
further in the game,
perro,
and it
si
can also
fuera
directly
retrocompatible,
enhance the gameplay.
La neta, estuviera
To
100%
use
chida.
Dead Space as an example, I know, old school. You're fighting enemies in
Pero que
fairly
estuviera
dark,
compatible
spooky locations.
con
Back in the day,
la
if you played
4 y la
the
3,
game
con
using the
todas,
TV
así como la había
speakers, you could
anunciado,
tell
la
that there
neta.
was one last enemy growling and hunting you down, but it was difficult to tell quite where that enemy was.
No,
With headphones, you could tell that the enemy was somewhere on the right.
Geraldine, no llegaste tarde, aún no enseña nada.
That it must be somewhere
Nomás todas sus
behind.
especificaciones que ha tenido, que va a tener más bien. Pero de software, de hardware, bueno, de hardware. Pero falta ver cómo es la consola. Que eso no ha salido. ¿Cómo va a ser?
Well, all those bumps and folds in the ear have a meaning, evolutionarily speaking, based on what direction the sound is coming from.
Ricardo Gamer, un saludo, bro. Dice Juan, jaja, ¿quién recuerda la PlayStation X con la pantalla? Yo nunca tuve la pantalla, pero yo sí la recuerdo.
These volume changes and phase shifts are different for each direction and also vary depending on the frequency of the sound. Head size and head shape also impact the sound in a similar fashion. The way that the sound changes based on direction and frequency can be encoded in a table called the head-related transfer function, or HRTF. Here's part of one. The vertical axis is the frequency. The horizontal axis is the direction, front, back, left, right, and the color gives the degree of attenuation of the sound at that frequency. The HRTF is as unique to an individual as a fingerprint is. In fact, you're looking at
por aquí vi ahorita.
Here's how we measure an HRTF. We've taken hundreds of people through this.
¿Crees que sea más potente que el Xbox? No sé si sea más potente, pero aquí tengo una comparación que en potencia, una comparación a potencia con el Play 4. El Play 4 llegaba a 1.8 teraflow y el Play 5 va a llegar a 10.28 teraflow. Va a tener 16 de RAM, el 5 y el 4 tenía el 8.
Unfortunately, the processing has to be done in frequency domain rather than time domain, so there's multiple fast Fourier
Y
transforms
pues
needed for
nomás
every
son
sound
las
source,
como
for
las
every
más
audio.
relevantes.
That's a lot of multiplies. This computational complexity was the determining factor for our strategy.
Daniel, yo también ya quiero verla ya para
Bullet
que se
and
acabe
design
esto.
and build a custom hardware unit for 3D audio.
Ánimo
Collectively,
Flash, un
we're
saludo,
referring to
bro.
the hardware unit and the proprietary algorithms we run on it as
Manu J, un
Tempest
saludo,
3D
andamos bien por acá.
audio tech. The meaning of 3D
Esa
audio
madre
and
trae el cura del
technology should be pretty
coronavirus.
obvious here. As for Tempest, I feel it
No sé
really
si la
reflects
traiga
our
incluida
goals
ya.
with audio. It suggests a certain
Yo creo sí, para mí
intensity
que
of
fue un truco
experience
de
and
Sony
also hints at your presence.
para decir
We're calling the
que compren la
hardware
Play
unit
5 y
that we
vamos a decir
built
que traen
the
la cura del
Tempest engine.
coronavirus.
It's based on AMD's GPU technology. We modified a compute unit in such a
¿Cuándo
way
un nuevo video de
as to make it
PSP?
very close to the
Pronto subiré un nuevo
SPUs
video
in
de
PlayStation
PSP, ya estoy
3.
trabajando en ello.
Remember when I said that they were ideal for audio? So the Tempest engine has no caches, just like an SPU. All data access
Dicen,
is via
Felipe,
DMA,
dicen
just
que
like an
probablemente
SPU.
GTA
Our
6
target
salga
was
para
that
la
it would
próxima
have more
generación.
power than a CPU, thanks to the parallelism that a GPU can achieve.
Pero espero
And then it
también
would
la
be
saquen
more
para
efficient
el
than our
Xbox One y
GPU,
para el
thanks to
Play
an
5, para el
SPU-like
Play 4, pues
architecture.
para poder
The
jugarlo.
goal being to make possible near
Pero dicen que
100%
sí va a ser
utilization of
un
the
lanzamiento
CU's vector units.
que va a ser solamente
Where we
para las
ended up
próximas
is a unit
generaciones,
with
que
roughly the
sería el
same
Play 5
SIMD
y el
power and
Xbox
bandwidth
Series
as
X.
all 8 Jaguar cores in the PlayStation 4 combined. If we were to use the same algorithms
güey.
as PSVR, that's enough for something like 5,000 sound sources. But of course, we want to use more complex algorithms, and we don't need anything like that number of sounds. It would have been wonderful if a simpler strategy, such as using Dolby Atmos peripherals,
Saludos a
would have achieved
Argentina,
our goals,
Luriel.
but we wanted 3D audio for all, not just those
Voy a
with
ponerlos por aquí
licensed soundbars or the
para que
like.
no se aburran ni lean los
Also, we wanted many
comentarios.
hundreds of sound sources, not just the 32 that Atmos supports. And finally, we wanted to be able to throw an overwhelming amount of
Tapando este
processing
güey,
power
que
at
no
the problem,
habla ni dice
and it
nada.
wasn't clear what any peripheral might have inside of it. In fact, with the Tempest engine, we've even got enough power that we can allocate some to the games, to the extent that games want to make use
Minor,
of
de veras,
convolution
tanta
reverb
potencia
and other
para jugar
algorithms that are
Fortnite.
either computationally expensive or
A lo
new
mejor
or
sacan
high.
el Fortnite
But the
2.0
primary purpose of the Tempest engine remains
o Fortnite
3D
edición
audio.
especial Play 5.
Now, 3D audio is a major academic research topic. It's safe to say
Saludos,
that
Isaac,
no one
aquí
in the
estás, ya
world
te
has
vi.
all of the answers. And the set of algorithms that has to be invented, tuned, or implemented to realize our vision for 3D audio is immense. For example, use of HRTFs in games is quite complex. Before, I talked about making a sound source appear as
Ese güey yo creo estuvo estudiando toda la semana para decir este
But for
discurso.
high-quality 3D game audio, we have to handle other possibilities. The sound source might not be at one of the 1,000 HRTF sample locations, so we have to blend the HRTF data from the closest locations that we have sampled. The sound source might be moving, which needs very special handling as that blend keeps changing, and that can cause phase artifacts in the resulting audio. Or the sound source might have a size to it, meaning it should feel as if it's coming from an area rather than a single point.
¿Quién está ignorado?
There's also whole categories of approaches to be handled. 3D audio can be implemented using individual processing of 3D sound sources. But
que saquen el Free Fire para PlayStation 5. No creo que lo hagan.
Ambisonics being somewhat like the spherical harmonics used in computer graphics.
Daniel, yo también espero un buen diseño.
Audio devices.
De hecho, lo único que estoy esperando.
Using headphones or TV speakers or have a higher-end surround sound setup
compatible con headphones, surround TV. Ahorita están hablando del audio.
That's a lot of variations. It's nice to have the computational resources of the Tempest engine.
The Last of Us saldrá para PlayStation 5, ¿verdad? Sí, creo que sí son de las exclusivas que van a lanzar.
Multi-year, step-by-step process. Having said that, headphone
ahorita
audio implementation is
el men este está hablando del audio nada más, de que tiene un audio 3D, que bla bla bla. Se lo va a traducir. No, nuestro PlayStation 5 con el VR te produce un sonido envolvente que te hace viajar.
TV
y no ocupas
speakers
ningún
and stereo
alucinógeno.
speakers, we're in the process of implementing virtual surround sound. The idea being that if you're sitting in a sweet spot in front of the TV, then the sound can be made to feel as if it's coming from any direction, even behind you. Virtual surround sound has a lot in common with 3D audio on headphones, but it's more complex because the left ear can hear the right speaker and vice versa. We have a basic implementation of virtual surround sound up and running.
Los primeros juegos que saldrían para el Play 5 también iban a salir para el Play 4, o sea, para las dos consolas. Pero pues nomás habían dicho, yo creo que dijeron para que, como bajaron sus ventas del Play 4 por el anuncio del Play 5, debe dicho eso. No, sí van a ser compatibles, pero pues eso nomás dura si acaso un año o dos, y ya olvidan la anterior consola y ya no sacan nuevos juegos.
After which, we'll start in on setups with more speakers, such as 6-channel surround sound.
Vengo de parte de SR. Ah, eso es todo, Carlos. Me lo saludas.
One of the game demos allows you to toggle between conventional PlayStation 4 style stereo audio and our new 3D audio. I listened with just an ordinary pair of over-the-ear headphones, and wow, I could feel a difference. 3D audio has that dimensional feel to it. Conventional stereo audio feels smashed flat by comparison. The improvement is obvious. So, a big advancement, but have I entered the
Sí, me parece que este comentario de Maino dice, señor, está diseñando el traje de Iron Man. Pues sí parece que está explicando cómo funciona todo el traje de Iron Man.
The answer is no. But you've probably caught on to what's missing here, namely whose HRTF was
¿Qué rollo, bro?
It wasn't mine. It was the default HRTF.
Dice, Memo, me perdí de algo, Mr. Dog. No, nada más han hablado de lo que va a tener el Play 5, todo su hardware. Y ahorita están hablando del sonido, nada más. Pro Gamer, un saludo. Si no te has perdido de mucho. Y lo que yo creo que todos estamos esperando aquí es que muestren cómo va a ser la consola, el físico de la consola. Eso es lo que estamos esperando todos. Y pues nomás no, ya va para 1 hora y nomás no dice nada de cómo va a ser ni nada de esa madre. ¿Cómo hay que?
A corollary to this is that there are a few people whose HRTFs are sufficiently far from the default HRTF, that's the red dot here, that they can toggle between PS4 style and PS5 style audio and not sense much difference. I've had a few people describe the PlayStation 5's 3D audio as sounding like a bit better stereo audio. Presumably they're the ones at the very edges of this diagram. Which means what HRTF you're
Ojalá Sony sacara otra portátil. Pero ya les da miedo después del fracaso de la Vita.
Obviously, it's not possible to measure the HRTF of every PlayStation user. That means HRTF selection and synthesis are going to be big topics going forward as the Tempest technology.
Ni yo sabía.
At PlayStation 5 launch, we'll be offering a choice of 5 HRTFs. There's a simple test where you pick the one that gives you the best locality. That's just the first step, though. This is an open-ended research topic. Maybe you'll be sending us a photo of your ear, and we'll choose a neural network to pick the closest HRTF in our library. Maybe you'll be sending us a video of your ears and your head, and we'll make a 3D model of them and synthesize the HRTF. Maybe you'll play an audio
Dice,
game
Memo, ¿cuándo comparte los archivos para poner los juegos de las maquinitas? Sí quiero compartírselos, pero me da un poco de flojera porque pesa 11 gigas. No han mostrado el modelo, Felipe. Me come la intriga, dice, a mí también. ¿Cuánto les costó la PlayStation 4 cuando salió? Acá, 10,000 a 15,000. La Play 4 acá salía como en, no me acuerdo si como 9,000 varos o 10,000 varos mexicanos. Lo que cuesta la Pro ahorita acá. Y dicen que el 5 va a salir arriba de los 10,000 pesos mexicanos. O sea, arriba de como $500. ¿Qué? ¿Ya se acabó? ¿Qué? ¿Y el Play? Ya se acabó esta madre y no anunciaron el Play, nada más dijeron todo lo que va a tener. No, qué estafa. Pues ni modo, gente, se acabó esta madre y no anunciaron cómo va a ser el PlayStation. Solamente hablaron, en resumen, hablaron nada más qué va a tener, hablaron pues todo el hardware, pero no enseñaron nada, no mostraron nada, hablaron del sonido, hablaron de las funciones, pero no, ni modo, gente, ni modo. Creo que pues una decepción por parte de Sony. No mostraron cómo va a ser la consola y eso es lo que estamos esperando todos, cómo va a ser. Pues ni pex, gente. Hasta aquí vamos a dejar esta transmisión rápida. Yo esperaba ver la consola, la verdad. Esperaba ver cómo estaba la consola diseñada, aunque sea que mostraran el mando o una esquinita ya de pérdida. Pero pues esta madre no fue así. Y pues ya se acabó. Es que pues, bueno gente, hasta aquí vamos a parar esto. Ya que pues valió madre. Yo pienso que como algo ya sacó el suyo, él no tiene nada. Pues fue una decepción, gente. Kevin llegas tarde. Creo que Sony nos engañó, ¿o qué onda? Pues bueno, gente, voy a terminar aquí la transmisión porque pues valió madre, se acabó, no mostraron nada, simplemente un men ahí hablando bla 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 bla. Que el PlayStation 5 es nuestro software más perro que hemos hecho en Sony. Pues sí, güey, es el último que han hecho. Es que pues ni pex, gente, ahí nos vimos. Nos vemos en un próximo video. Y aprovechando de una vez, mañana voy a subir video a mi segundo canal. Es que pasé que le cagan y el PSP va a regresar con nuevos tutoriales, gente. Ahí nos vemos. Hasta la próxima. Cuídense. Bye. Yo ya me fui. Ah, caray, ya me iba, gente, y estoy viendo que todos ponen Nano te ama, Nano te ama, Nano te ama, Nano te ama. ¿Por qué todos ponen eso? Nano te ama, Nano te ama, Nano te ama. Alguien que me explique por qué todos ponen eso. ¿Acaso fue Nano quien los mandó? Nano te ama, Nano te ama, Nano te ama. ¿Pero por qué ponen eso? Bueno, si fue Nano que los mandó, me lo saludan, bro. Chido, Nano. Nano te ama, Nano te ama. ¿Por qué empezaron a poner eso? Bueno, creo que es algo que no podré resolver ahorita. Alguien que esté aquí ya me dejaron así como que, ¿qué? ¿Qué onda? ¿Por qué están poniendo ese? Bueno, gente, me saludan a Nano si él los mandó. Y si no, chidos a todos. Yo también lo amo al bro. Nano quiso saludar, dice. Ah, bueno, ya está. Un saludo para Nano en especial. Ánimo, gente, pues ahora sí, ya vamos a finalizar esto. Y pues, ahí nos vimos, gente. Una decepción por parte de Sony que no quiere decir cómo va a ser su PlayStation 5. Para mí que no tiene nada hecho y no ha sacado nada. Es que pues ahí nos vimos, gente. Ahora sí ya se finaliza esto. Bye.